Sunday night reveal. And boy, oh boy, oh boy, was tonight exciting. Was prolific note-taking tonight. With some really fascinating comments by the judges, reaction by the contestants. And we're lucky we've got one of Australia's best interior designers, Frances Conway. I'd love to invite Frances on tonight.
Hi, Peter. How you going?
Sensational. So, off the bat, what are you feeling about tonight's episode?
Look, it was really lovely actually to see Steph Young get up there tonight. I think that she was really relieved, and I think they did an awesome job. I also had copious notes. I was madly scribbling away about some things that I was noticing. I think one of the key things that came out tonight for me was so much of the functionality was missed, and it was picked up by the judges, which I was really happy about. But just about all of them really missed a trick on the functionality. And even though the styling was absolutely beautiful in House 1 with Kyle and Leslie, it had the most beautiful feeling. It was so calm and gorgeous. They totally missed a trick. Talk about missing out on maximising your capital return. And the styling with House 5 with Eliza and Liberty wasn't good at all. Marty wanted an empty room, but I think just not thinking about spatial planning and the functionality, I think, was the key miss in this week. What did you think?
Yeah, look, there's an old adage that I live by, less is more. And so a space well thought out, it's concise. One of the big problems that I see with vendors when we're trying to reorganise their space, or we're doing a forever home, which is your forte, is it's like a wedding, especially a bride. Every idea that she's ever thought of, every magazine she's ever read has to be in that wedding planning. It's exactly the same with homes. If there's a space there, people are tempted to stuff something in. And honestly, I heard the best advice when I was at Rabin Tech. The art teacher said one thing to me that changed my perception forever. He said, a wonderful painting has been ruined by just one more brush stroke. I take that into designing what we do. So we'll get into it. We're going to start off with House 1 tonight, which is Kyle and Leslie. So do you remember what it was that they were styling for?
Pilates. It was going to be, have this. I couldn't believe when we went into the space how huge it was for this Pilates reformer machine. So a Pilates room, a spare bedroom. It was a self-contained unit, as Marty pointed out. So, and it looked beautiful. It felt beautiful. But what a waste of space in terms of utilising and maximising what that could actually be. And we talked about it, you in particular talked about it last week, about how awesome it is having Marty on the show. And I think this week he was really good as well in terms of what this could be and how they're going to maximise return. And I think we're going to constantly hear that from him, which is what the block is all about. So I love their space, but from a functionality perspective, it just did not tick the boxes.
Well, I have this saying, it was a bit like an ashtray on a motorbike. Good idea, but rather useless.
Useless. The bed was beneficial, but yeah, Pilates. Who's going to walk in there and go, yeah, this is exactly what I want in my house? It's just so specific. So anyone can go in there and put that stuff in there. So, beautiful. But
so when we're doing homes for sale, one of the key things I actually ask vendors, especially, I use the word eclectic is a really nice way of saying it doesn't look that good. But a lot of people have eclectic taste. And one thing that I actually ask them is, how many people in your world have your specific taste? Without exception, they all say, oh, hardly anyone. I go, so if you're going to bring a home onto market and it's that eclectic, you've got to pray for that one buyer in a million who wants what you got. So the key thing we've got to look at, Frances, is, as Marty Fox was saying, we've got to plan for the marketplace.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's interesting you say that. I'm just sitting here thinking, oh, look, I've just come back I flew in today from the Kitchen Bathroom Institute of Designers Awards and conference this weekend. So the KBDI, Kitchen Bathroom Designers Institute. And the ones that were winning were absolutely spectacular. But I could also, and they got huge returns over the reserve for the homes. And I think because the design was so cutting edge and so spectacular and it was so different, but still soft, that I think they were able to get such a great return. But these were, I could see as well that they could possibly be polarizing, but because the overall home was so beautiful, and it just felt beautiful and the functionality was right, I think that's why it's still working, even though it may not have been exactly what they would have chosen. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so I've been into places where I've seen things I haven't seen before, but you haven't thought of it, but it makes sense when you see it.
Yeah, that's right. And that's good design, though. That's really good design. So did you like room one? So even though they didn't use the space properly, and what was your feeling? Because I felt that it felt beautiful. When you walk in there, you go, oh, this is a really nice place to relax. It just wasn't utilised. But what were your thoughts?
Walking into the bedroom, I can't say that I'm necessarily a huge fan of arches in small spaces. For me, it reminds me of having a Greek background, reminds me of some things I saw growing up, but it was all Mission Brown. However, I did love the pendant on the right-hand side of the bed, and the fixed sconce, for want of a better thing, on the left. There was an organic shape to them. That was really beautiful. I got to say, I love the bed. I love the colours. Like, I wanted to jump through the TV, go to sleep, and kick the crew out. That's how I felt. The carpet, it looks nice, but this is me dealing with these things. It actually doesn't wear really well. There's a lot of work to maintain that sort of stuff. I often wonder why no one ever picks that up.
Well, I think Darren said it's coming straight off the pool, so it's not actually going to be functional with wet feet. So
I'm thinking more in the bedroom.
It was a beautiful carpet, but I don't. It's not functional for that space. To your point.
No, look, I thought they did a really good job. I think they were right. Like, I would have had a bathroom in there, or like a small, ensuite, and you could have had a kitchenette. And because the pool's going to be there, that it really has a multi-function use.
Yeah.
The good thing about that is they're design elements. They're not construction elements. So
correct.
With some really good planning. The only thing I don't know if they could actually put an ensuite in there, because theirs is a separate area and they have to go into the main house to get there. So that'll be really interesting if they could do that. But they could easily add in a kitchenette, put in some floating flooring, and just get rid of that Pilates machine. Although my wife would kill me. She loves Pilates.
But look, it's just it's like freestanding furniture. You can take that out. I think if someone was to buy that, they could still, I think Marty alluded to it as well, they could still just stick a kitchenette in. They could see that it's got that potential. Most of those things that can be taken out, you would definitely have to change the floors. Interestingly, I loved the curves. I love how they dealt with the bedside tables that weren't specifically bedside, and the lights, what you said, that they weren't identical. I think they've got a really good design eye. These two, they had a beautiful bathroom last week. They've got a really soft colour palette. I'm really interested to see what they're going to do with the rest of the house, because I really think that they are a little bit different to the others with their designs. I
think very quickly, they're not quirky, but there's an authentic DNA in what they're seeing out. And I noticed it from the bathroom coming over to this, and I'm going, I am actually enjoying this journey across, and that made me extremely happy.
And I actually really like them as people. I think they're really quite nice on the show, and they're the ones that wanted to be on so many times and didn't quite get there. But there's no dramas with them. So let's go to number two. What did you think of number two?
Okay, so I think Darren Palmer's thing, he said the floors um, are gorgeous. And it was immediately, I actually did look down. When I walk into a property, I first look straight up and then I look straight down and then I fill it in. I loved it. I love the size of it. So it wasn't as big as House 1. But when I'm looking at it, I thought, actually, there's room to move around here. And one thing that I felt that they didn't stuff every inch with something in there, and that actually made me happy. I hate crammed rooms. I loathe it. We have a formal, when I say formal, we actually have a living area where we deliberately don't have any electronic equipment in there. So we've got a really big couch. We've got a couple single seaters. They're different. There's so much room. And when people come to stay with us or visit, it leads to conversation. And that's what I felt like when I was looking at that room.
That's interesting. So I'm going to have to completely disagree with you on this one, because I think that they had such a masculine space. So when they walked in, I thought, this is just stepping me back to the 1990s. It was really dark cabinetry. It was a wall of dark cabinetry. And then they had the Murphy bed. That they didn't have the conversation like what you were talking about in your home, that you can, they just had those seats sort of facing that wall of really dark cabinetry. And look, it contrasted really nicely with the floors, but again, I felt it connected really well with that ensuite that they did last week, which we talked about quite a lot, that really dark, masculine ensuite, and it really tied in with that. But I just felt the whole thing was dated. It just made me feel, okay, they had really beautiful marble on the top. It was self-contained really well. Their styling is really lacking, but look, styling's just one thing. You can get a stylist to come in and do that. But it was just the cabinetry was really dated in my mind. I just felt the room was an awesome size, but they just it was just too masculine. I don't feel that they can move on from that. I'm really interested to see what they do with the rest of their house. They're almost the polar opposite of Kyle and Leslie in that soft, calm. I have got a beautiful feeling when I walk into the space. Yeah. I feel that Leah and Ash create cold spaces. They don't have any feeling. Their lighting is cold. I just don't feel warm and invited into the space of the two spaces that I've seen from them so far.
Actually, a really interesting addition to the Murphy bed. It's only because I know it's the sort of stuff we access. The actual TVs are built on the underside. And you have a
it can be, but they didn't do it.
No, they didn't. And then I thought, well, that's actually really... So I'm actually looking at... I just noticed on my notes, I actually wrote the rectifications. So as I'm reading out, I'm reading the rectifications in there.
Yeah.
So super quickly, so the side panels, I would actually open those up the side... so where you got the doors either side of the Murphy bed. So take those out and actually have open doors.
Shelves. Have some books in there, some plants.
Super, and put in some lighting. You can actually put in just very soft. Have a TV in there, and if it's done properly, it actually looks like it's supposed to be there, and it just looks fantastic, and it makes it usable again. And so
I think.
Yep.
Yeah, I think Darren, though, said depending on how often someone's going to be there, and I really agreed with him on this, that you could just have a sofa bed here. Totally. So it makes that whole space feel, it could be a rumpus room, it could be where the kids come, it could be a little bit more multifunctional if you had a sofa bed, because it feels like an area that you can engage and have a conversation with, and it feels more inviting than having a Murphy bed there. And then when people are staying, just roll out the sofa bed. And I felt that would have been a better solution than having all of that cabinetry. I think the only other thing with the Murphy bed is, instead of having the TV, you can actually get them where they become a workspace. So if they needed an additional workspace in that home, it could be a Murphy bed that by day is then a workspace, and that would work really well. But again, you don't know who's going to be buying it, so that may not be the best option. I think a sofa bed would have been better. Just take it out, and whoever's going to move into that space can then decorate it with the furniture that they need.
I know when we've selected them, we use much lighter colours.
Yeah.
So I like refracted light. So light that comes in and bounces out again.
Of course, they don't have any of that. Yeah.
So I think they're right. they've got a lot to learn
Yeah.
in this space. Obviously, they're a bit disheartened at the moment. I think if they grow ears, they're going to change dramatically. And you know, we see that with Steph and Gian, that Gian came in, and you know, I don't want to get too far ahead, but I'm just talking about. I'm going to show you how it's done. Fortunately, really quickly, she learnt her lesson. I just think that, yeah, I think with Leah, she's watched every other episode and goes, okay, everyone's done it this way. I'm going to show them something different. And it's just not clicking for her.
And maybe it's, so I feel that she's a very strong personality, and it was commented tonight, and he's got the builder background, of course, their execution's really good. So I think they deliver a really high quality product and a really good finish, but they don't have the design skills at this stage. And how quickly are they going to pull them up? But I think that Leah, my impression is that she probably feels she's a lot better at design than she really is. And I don't feel that she wants to be told much.
Can I tell you?
Because I think she thinks she knows a lot.
I have that a fair bit. I guarantee you do as well. So if we have a courier pigeon, I'll just send your web address to their house, and I'll just see how it's done properly when they check out your website. Okay, house 3, Brett and Christy, 38 square meters. That area. That's actually a good size area.
Yeah. And but it wasn't fully self-contained, which was a bit of a shame. Now, interestingly, so Shana in particular she loved the green, which I did as well. Again, I felt that was a really calming space. The styling wasn't as good as Kyle and Leslie. And they had, you know, quite a few things in there, but they were just missing a trick to make it fully self-contained. And interestingly, Shana didn't feel that there was a good connection with the ensuite.
Yep.
Which she describes as Moroccan. So I think there's a hint of Moroccan in the ensuite, and I know she didn't like it last week. But I didn't feel that there was that much of a disconnect. I didn't sort of feel like, oh, I'm going to really dislike those two spaces together. And maybe it was because the ensuite had sort of more of the pink calmer tones, and then we had the greens in that space. But I didn't have a massive problem with that. Darren went on to say, oh, you could put a washer and dryer in here. And I thought, oh, this is really overkill. It's not even self-contained at this moment. I'd be wanting to put something in to make it self-contained before I put a washer and dryer in. So, and I love the wallpaper. I thought the concrete wallpaper was beautiful. What did you think? Was it quite different, this one? And they had all the Velux skylights as well. So what did you think about it?
So here's the thing. Styling doesn't bother me. And when I say styling doesn't bother me, because within a couple of hours, it's all changed.
Yeah, correct.
New beds, it's all done. What I loved about structurally what they did, and I loved that during the week, Christy just wanted to get in and paint everything, and Brett went about the business of making sure that they taped and masked everything off properly. And I've had to go in after painters from people who've done jobs before us, and we have to fix it. There's overspray. There's Silkaflex all over the joint. And his attention to detail told me what his expectation was. So the styling was more Christy. So the Velux, man, I love the Velux. And back to the 2 blocks ago when they did it in Brighton, it was the father and daughter who did the show together. They also had Velux windows where there was an old oak tree outside. So these Velux, I absolutely love the plasterwork around it as well. It was just epic. And when the tarps get taken off and the windows are cleaned and you can see those trees and you got the light coming in, I'm just going, I would love to be in this place. As long as it's got air conditioning. Because when you're up high and you're working in there, you don't have air conditioning, it's hell.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
it's a real shame that they did that. They filmed that obviously at night time because you couldn't see the natural light coming in. That's a real shame, actually, because I think it would have been a huge feature because they were doing it exactly to get the tree, to get the visual of the tree, and then you get the sky and how beautiful. Completely. Well, that was a really good design feature.
No, it actually had still had tarp over the outside. That's
Yeah.
why you see it. I've got to say, I absolutely love the blind curtains that just, you know, had the tracks went up and down. And the reason I like that is, you know, especially in summer, you got, I don't know what aspect it's got, but you got sun coming through all day and the place heats up. But they're neat and clean. Those types of ones, because they're not sitting close to the glass and they're off, especially in winter where you might get a little bit of moisture inside the glass, a lot of the ones that people use, they end up getting mold in them and dust, and they're absolute shockers. And people buy these expensive things and you can't maintain them. That's the thing that when I looked at that and I'm going, you beauty, that is well thought out. And in early episodes, I think last week, those actually open up. So they've got another side one, a side window that so it's a slider that opens up, and those ones all open up as well. So there's a lot of cross breeze, which I think is just epic.
And it'll be much nicer when they open up when you're sitting that high as well. The Velux, we've got the Velux with the blind in it, and we've also got the Velux that then they automatically close when it starts raining, and they are gold. They're really fantastic. So if they've put those ones in, and it looks like they have, they're going to be fantastic. So
I spend a lot of time looking at you know, window fittings and good framework. And I tell you, you know the difference between an average one and a really good one. And
they did a good job.
Yeah, I loved it. I love Velux. I must say, I'm not sponsored by them. I just think they're great. So
the only ones that we talk about as well is Velux. So they certainly had a good branding on there because they didn't take any of that off. So no, Velux is great.
Can I tell you what annoys me? Every year of this show, I notice when window frames aren't clean, when in the bathrooms, the glass isn't clean. I see everything. And I know it's sponsored by Velux, but honestly, I hate seeing a window that's not clean and with a sticker on it. Always feels unfinished. And
it did feel unfinished with this massive red Velux on every single one, but yeah, that's their branding.
Yeah, it is. So House Force. I'm actually loving this couple, Steph and Gian. What are your thoughts and feelings?
Well, it was interesting this week. I've been watching the commentary on social media, and it's quite, you know, a lot of people are saying, oh, you know, Steph, is she, you know, actually doing anything? She's always in clean clothes. And then other people are like, just give her a break. This girl is, you know, trying her best and she's trying to get out there and do things. And so I think that this week people are going to change maybe a little bit about what she's capable of doing. And their room was so beautiful. And I think, I can't remember if it was Shana or Darren that said it, that you can really see the architectural influence in what they delivered this week. And it definitely deserved to win. Absolutely.
I got to say, I loved everything about it. I thought it was personal. They commented on their storage space, you know, in the back.
Not quite enough.
Yeah.
I agree. I agree.
I mean, it's one of those things that's okay. I mean, how often do people stay in there? I guess that's the key thing. But once you start expanding one area, you lose it somewhere else. So I'm sort of and going, you know, how do we work this one out? And honestly, when people are looking through the homes, especially as this room isn't the main room, and we don't know if it's going to be kept as a bedroom. That's the truth. And
that is true.
Yeah.
But I think to Shana's point, and I really did agree that I would have had more hanging as well and had less shelves. One side of shelves would have been enough because to your point, we don't know what this room's going to be, and it may end up being a fifth bedroom. May not be a spare room. If it was a spare room, the storage is not an issue at all. But if it is going to be another bedroom, and that would be easily a family with 3 children and or even 4 children that they need this room as another bedroom, then you would need more hanging space and not have as many shelves. So, but look, it's a minor thing really in terms of what they delivered. I love the little mini bar they had and the little coffee machine. I thought it was so tiny in that little shelf, in that little cupboard. But gee, wouldn't you feel so special just having that there if you were staying there as a guest?
Okay, I have a confession.
Oh, what's your confession?
Okay, so
you've got one.
Moved into this. We've got a coffee machine. We've got a large ensuite.
Yeah.
to walk 10 seconds to get a coffee instead of downstairs.
Oh, I have had clients with this before. They've got the coffee machine upstairs in their master bedroom.
Yeah, and my office is right near, and my studio is near our master bedroom, and I've got another bar fridge out here with another one. And so, honestly, to wake up and smell the coffee, it is one of life's great pleasures.
I thought it was such a beautiful touch, really, really beautiful. And again, it was so calm, that room.
It was,
wasn't it?
Was a fireplace.
Yeah.
That and I think it was Darren that said the light coming in. Imagine being in bed, the light comes in.
Yes.
Fire going. I'd be getting up at the crack of noon or later if I was living in that place.
Yeah. And again, if it was going to change, and here the storage wouldn't be an issue again, that fire, you could easily have a sofa and some chairs facing the direction of the fire and still having the natural light coming in off the side. So I know they fought really hard for that fireplace on Tuesday night, and it was she really wanted it. It was a really good decision. And they certainly didn't spend the most either.
No.
So that was a really good investment.
I think what Steph did was look at the existing architecture of the home and say, what can we do with this? And so they chose a really good gas log fireplace. It fitted into the wall beautifully. I love the plaster over the front of it. So, they didn't try and put a big hearth around it. I thought that would have ruined it. But it was felt. That would be the word that I would describe. It was very felt and sophisticated. She has quite a sophisticated style. Be Right Agent, if you could just bring that up, Tim. Be Right Agent said the fireplace was a beautiful touch. And so I totally agree with that. It was a beautiful touch. And the thing is, I don't know, I can see you got about 5 million books behind you, Francis. I've got tons either side of me.
Just a small proportion of the whole house, but yes, I do.
If they do change it and they do put in a nice couch and you've got light coming in, my wife and I often sit on our couch and we read and we have our coffee machine close by. And it's just wonderful.
Yeah, she really did well with that, because the original fire, let's get one in, and that room then, I think, and this is what I was talking about last week, really has got such great potential to be multifunctional and flexible over the life of whoever's going to live there in terms of what it can be. I think Darren talked about it being rumpus. I'm feeling like it's a second living area where the parents just go to, or it's going to be the spare room, or it could be a second bedroom. Imagine having your office in there.
Oh,
it's beautiful, and it's right at the front of the house as well. So, yeah, they really nailed that.
And that room, and here's the thing, is that room actually has a separate entry hallway to it.
Yes.
So they got that in really early. I thought that was really smart. The other thing that I would say is to turn it into rumpus sounds so unsophisticated.
Agree.
And so, look, there's a lot left to imagination. I'll finish that room up with Marty Fox said, this is the room where you come in that makes you want to go check out the rest of the home.
I noticed that too. And he's so right, though. And that's the estate agent. It's so true.
And so, when we hear the Marty Fox, what he does is that he will take, what people like you do, Francis, who design things, and goes, okay, so how do we take these great ideas and entice people with it? And so it's like design with purpose. It's like, it's beautiful. It's like the smell of bread in the morning. You've got to love it. Let's go to House 5, the girls. Eliza, Liberty.
I think Eliza's now loving the painting. She's loving, one of them's now fallen in love with painting, bless her. So they actually spent the least. Oh, no, they didn't. Brett and Kirsty spent the least. They spent 17. So Eliza and Liberty had 19K. Oh, gee. Look, pardon me. Too much.
Yeah.
Just too much going on, too many colours. I couldn't believe on that wall where they had, you know, the self-contained wall, they had this big block of floor-to-ceiling cabinetry right in the middle of the space. And then they had so much space for desks. It just didn't work. It didn't work for me.
Do you know what that reminded me of? And look, if I share something now and I offend someone by saying this, it's not my intention, but I'm going to say it anyway. It's like when you meet some guys and they've got a ring on every finger. They've got about 500 chains around their neck. And it's like, if you can hang it or dangle it or stick it on, they'll all have it. And when I was looking at that room, it was just like busy. I'm going, where do I start and finish? Like, where's that place I can come to and go, okay, I'm just going to rest and relax in this part.
And it doesn't have that. It doesn't have that spot. I think someone did mention that. It might have been Darren as well. That I just don't know where to go with this. There's just too many colours. I think they just were trying to do too many things. So that goes back to your point right at the start of, you know, take something away, less is more. And it's interesting, we were talking about that on the weekend at the conference, that you either take something out, or they say that, you know, when you go out and, you know, you're getting dressed for the day, take something off. Chanel used to do that. And I think with them, they needed to take more than one thing out of there, but I think they just got a bit lost in what their direction was. I don't feel that they really had a direction before they started. I think they just kept adding to it. And the wallpaper, what I couldn't believe, it was wallpaper of Yarraville in the western suburbs when this is based in Hampton. You think you'd have a Bayside map on there?
Yes, I totally agree.
It was like, oh, that was a bit odd.
Although I know quite a few, one of my dear friends, Kate Bakos, she always says to me, best is west, west is best. So she's based out of Yarraville. She would have absolutely loved that.
I know.
I'm going, hang on, I was born Bayside. I was born close to there. Now, we need Sandringham. We need Brighton. We need all of that.
You need have Hampton on there. Kate actually helped a couple of my clients find houses. Isn't that funny? What a small world.
She's an absolute champion.
She's a gun over there. Yeah, I've been following her. So,
I think one of the key things I found, like when they were putting that TV up, that annoyed me.
Oh, yes.
And so I actually said to my wife, Tanya, I go, they actually don't need a TV in that room.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah. People think you need a TV everywhere you go, and you don't.
Don't. I thought, why can't it just be an area where you actually go to without a TV? But maybe they feel like if it's or they felt like if it was a spare room that they'd want to have a TV, but it wasn't a necessity. And because it was so difficult for them to work out where to put it, I would have said, so get rid of it. Let's make this an easy solution. Just get rid of it.
And we could see where Shayna Blaze went over to the sink. She actually had to lean back like this because the TV, I mean, why would you have it? I'm going to share this with you. You're going to laugh, but we were redoing a home for sale, and they had this guy had this TV that when he used to cook, he had it up in the wall and had one of those swing things on it, and it was in a corner. And when we pulled it out and took it down, he said, "But everyone loves those things," and I go, "No, they don't." It was just, yeah, it was like very 1990s.
Yeah.
And that's what that actually felt like, and I think. It was Darren Palmer that said it feels like cheap motel.
And actually, when you were talking about all the jewelry, all the rings on the knuckles and everything, my mind was going to cheap hotel or even a cabin in a caravan park that you go to, and you've got to get all that furniture in because it needs, you know, you have to get everything in because you need a place to sit at and place to cook and so forth. But they just jam it in just to get it into those tiny little micro cabins. That's what it felt like for me, and a humble jumble of different colours and furniture. And it didn't really know if it was Arthur or Martha, I don't think, which is a real shame.
It is. Look, I like the girls.
I do too.
They have a good attitude. I believe they're going to learn. And so the thing I love about them is that they don't pretend that they know everything.
That's what I love about them.
Yeah, they do cop it on the chin. Of all the rooms in the house, that one for me, around the block, that's probably the most problematic. Sure, they got their design things, you know, which they they can take furniture out, styling, but there are some design things in there that are constructed in. I don't know what they're going to do. First thing I'll do is take the TV out.
The cabinetry's wrong, but I would take the TV out, and they can easily paint over the wallpaper.
Yeah,
because that's totally wrong.
Yeah, that's easy enough. And then the rest, I think we're going to see a few of these rooms reimagined in probably, I think, week 10, when they get to go back and redo a few of the rooms. I suspect they're going to go back and give this one a little bit of a...
I think they'll give it a bit of a revamp. But they got third.
Now,
I was actually surprised. I really wouldn't have given them third place. The first and second I totally agreed with, but third I was really surprised that they got third. But, yeah, what you were saying before about when Marty Fox made the comment on Steph's place, Steph and Gyan, when you come in here, you say, I want to look at the rest of the house. I'm really intrigued. But the other thing to consider is the photography. Yes. That the house has got to be good enough to photograph, and sure, they use the fish angle lenses and everything else to sort of make it look really big, but you've got to get the right angle so it does look good to entice people to come in the first place. So that room is going to be really difficult to photograph the way it is to even make it look half good. And I think, to make it look half decent, I should be saying, and number 2 is going to be really difficult to photograph as well. Leah Nash. So they've got to think of those things as well.
Well, I know that when we go to present a home, when we arrive for the very, very first time, mind you, we're in the selling phase, is I take 1 million photos. And the reason I do it, I'm asking myself, what photos are going to be taken for marketing? What video? What's the drone footage going to look like? And so when we consider rooms, are we going to have a pendant here? So if we have a really long hallway that opens up into another room, we will have a light that when people come around, their eyes will focus on, so there's a focal point in a room. So it's more, the room's more animated than just flat or 3D, as I say. So as they go forward, all of them need to consider what photos are going to be. I think number 2, who was it that sought out the advice of the real estate agents? Was that Kyle and Leslie? No.
Oh, who've actually appointed Bell?
Yes. Yeah, they were the ones that, when they arrived...
I think it's Kyle and Leslie that have appointed Bell already.
Yeah. So what they did was when they arrived, they saw a house for sale, and they went and sought the advice of the agent on what they should do. Can I tell you, that is bang. 10 out of 10 for that. And I think what we're going to see from them is because they've appointed early, they're going to have cogent advice from sophisticated sales agents in the market they want to sell into. Just brilliant.
Yeah, and I mean, that's it. It's not a forever home. They're there to sell it, and they're there to maximise the return. So it is very wise.
So final scores, I'll give them out. So Kyle and Leslie got 23, which I thought was actually really good. Leah and Ash, 21. I know they were pretty glum. Brett and Christy, 21. I was wondering why they drew. Steph and Gian, clear winner in my mind. 24 and a half.
It was pretty clear they were going to win.
I was wondering how much Steph actually wanted that Hermes bag. That because you get the Hermes bag.
You think it's real Hermes bag there, Peter?
Yeah, well, it's $20,000. Well, that might have been just the day one. And Eliza and Liberty, 21 and a half. So it's a big week. To wrap it up, what are your feelings so far about how we're travelling?
I'm actually really impressed with how we're travelling, and they're doing, can't remember what room they're doing next week. Is it the office?
Yes.
Yeah. It's been actually really nice to see them grow, particularly Steph really she really took the advice about what happened last time. I mean, with the room last time, with the styling and everything, it was terrible. She wasn't meeting the brief with the kids' room in the very first week, and I think she's really taken that advice on board, and she kept talking about it this week. It's got to be perfect. I've really got to get this right this week. So it is really nice seeing them, not them, but all of them starting to get their own sort of way and getting their advice from the weeks before to go to the next stage. So I'm really excited for this week. What are your thoughts?
I'm excited. I think Charming Street, once this thing is run and won, will be forever changed. I honestly think people in Hampton East will start to reimagine what it is that they can do. And it's not that they're going to recreate these homes.
No.
Take what they've got and go, okay, if we have a good stylist and a good architectural designer, someone like yourself, what can we do in our homes that we've never imagined before?
Mm.
And I honestly think that possibly there was resistance in the area, and there may still be. I think once it all comes together, it'll show people what can happen when you get really good design, you get good application and finish. And if it's going to be there forever home, it's cheaper now to probably stay where you are. I believe Hampton East, there's going to be a big uplift over the next decade because the seeds of greatness that are happening here, and that's what excites me.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point. It will, I mean, but all of the blocks do that. It allows them to see what's possible. But I suppose because it's the brick veneers, it's the cream brick veneers, it's like, what are you going to do with a cream brick veneer? We're really restricted, and it is showing that you can do some amazing things and you don't have to go as far as what they're doing on the block. And I think that there is resistance with it, maybe going a bit too far, but you don't need to do that. You can still be creative, I think, is really what the essence is. Be creative with the bricks and mortar that are there to make something a little bit more interesting.
Well, I'm looking forward for the next week. Really appreciate your deep insight, Frances. And how do we find you in the marketplace? How do people find you?
Oh, I'm at whitepebblinteriors.com.au. And there you can also find links to my podcast, My Forever Home, which is talking all about forever home. So a little bit different to me, what I'm talking about here. So whitepebblinteriors.com.au is where you'll find all the different resources and so forth with what we do.
Well, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Peter.
Such a privilege having you, and have an amazing week.
You too. I'll see you next Sunday.
See you next Sunday.
Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye.